future noise from cars is nothing. Okay, wow, that is a lot of stuff going on at Fully Charged Live, and I only spent the Saturday there. I didn't get round half of the stuff that was there. I'm sure I've missed absolutely loads, but hopefully you just got an idea of the scale of everything that was going on there. In this video, I just wanted to talk about some of the things that I personally took away from Fully Charged Live, because hopefully that will be useful to some of you who may have not made it, or perhaps you didn't also see some of the things that were there and maybe I did. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a video on what I felt were the coolest things that I took away from Fully Charged Live 2022. First of all, I think great show. Shout out to everyone who was involved in actually putting that show together. I was a little bit anxious when we got to the overflow car park and there was this enormous queue going for the buses, and I thought I was going to spend the whole day in a field. Actually, that was the first thing I thought of. But actually, it turns out we just got there so early that none of the buses have started running yet. So as soon as kind of 10 o'clock kicked in, buses arrived and we were into the venue in no time at all. The other thing which I mentioned there in the piece just now was that it was the weirdest thing. So many electric cars coming to an event. It was just surreal that there was all these cars parking in a car park and there was just no sound, or very, very little sound compared to combustion engine vehicles, which was just kind of strange, really. I think a lot of people would be quite happy about cars generally being quieter, especially if they're going in the wee small hours of the morning or something like that. But yeah, it's quite an experience when there's all these cars kind of parking up and there is just complete silence, apart from the mandated safety tone that some of these cars are making. The first thing we did, we had a look around the main hall. Lots and lots of vendors in there touting their wares. I would say there was a clear the majority of vendors in there were some kind of charge point vendor, and that was quite marked how many charge point vendors there were, and that's no surprise, but it does clearly, I think, show that there's probably going to be a little bit of a very competitive landscape in the charge point manufacturer space for a little while, at least. But for me, actually, I wasn't that interested in the charge points. I was actually, as a consumer, going there to look at what else I could be doing to save energy. I was going there mainly to look at other things. So how can I reduce the gas that I use in my home. What kind of alternative energy solutions are there for electric boilers, heat pumps, battery storage, induction hobs, anything like that, anything in the home which I haven't really touched yet, in terms of kind of getting off gas or something like that, getting off fossil fuels. What can I do there? Because I think that's kind of the next step for me. Personally, I was also a little bit interested in new vehicles. I do still have to do some update videos on where I'm at with my new vehicle purchase, which is kind of a bit up in the air right now, so I will do some more videos on that. It's kind of quite an interesting story. But I was still looking at what is out there in the market, and it was quite surprising, some of the things that I saw there, and some of the things I was also surprised I did not see there. There was also some other bits and pieces which I wasn't expecting and to be interested in at all. I wasn't expecting to be interested in some things, and it turns out I was quite interested in. So let's run through some of the things that I think are worth talking about. So the first thing was actually a little company based out in Orkney, I believe, up in Scotland, called ecocars.net. We had a really lovely conversation with the lady from that company, and it might be a company that's actually very useful to me, and so hence why it's kind of at the top of my list of companies that I saw there. Really one of the highlights of the show, actually. Lovely company, really friendly, but also offering a really, really decent service that I think a lot of people will appreciate, and that is sourcing a reasonably priced second-hand EV. And the way that they're doing that is they are looking through the auction sites. They're set up as a company that's registered with all the various auction companies in the UK, and what they do is essentially facilitate the purchase of a car at auction for you. They take a small fee. It's about £350, something like that. But they're also going to make some savings for you in terms of time, their experience, what things sell for at auction, i.e. keeping you sort of straight on what your budgetary aims might be, or what your budget might be able to afford you, and obviously saving you a whole load of sort of potentially wasted time. Plus they get some different rates on things like the final selling fees in auctions. If you buy a car at auction privately, then you'll probably pay a higher rate fee than a business would. They also had a leaflet on the stand which described all of the various aspects of the vehicle condition. They had information on if the vehicle had been serviced. They had information on the auction price paid plus the fees due for the auction house, so you could see completely transparently all of the costs in there, plus obviously their fee included. So I really like the fact that you could just see everything about the deal. All in all, I think a really, really interesting service, and one I actually might take advantage of later on in the year. I'm still not convinced that I'm going to be keeping the Zoe because of the safety issues with that car. I haven't got a choice at the moment because it's the only car I've got, but once we get the new EV sorted, then I may actually give these guys a call and say, look, I'm interested in, say, a 40 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf second hand. What can you do? So, that's certainly something that I thought was, a really, really interesting company, and, just a kind of really nice, no hassle, no pressure kind of attitude, but just offering a really, really helpful service for a really, really reasonable price. So please do check them out if you don't know them. It was the first time I've spoken to them. I have seen them on the Twitters and places, but I hadn't really fully appreciated what they do, and that's them. So check them out. The second thing that caught my eye, and this one probably won't be universally appreciated by any means, but as of sort of February of this year, I started the long journey towards my private pilot's license, and I was really, really interested in the electric aircraft that they had there at Fully Charged. This was a Pripstill 2-seat aircraft, high wing. It had about an hour's worth of endurance, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it was really aimed at the training market, the sort of the flight school market, and I can tell you right now that there is a lot of money that goes into maintaining these aircraft, and rightly so. I don't want to be sitting in an aircraft that hasn't been well maintained, I can assure you of that right now. So I was really interested in this aircraft because I thought that actually potentially it might make learning to fly not only greener and better for the environment, but it actually might make it cheaper because of the sort of reduced amount of maintenance that an electric aircraft would possibly have. Now, I don't know anything about the rates. I spoke very briefly to the folks on the stand there, but I didn't get any kind of sort of facts and figures about kind of running costs and all that kind of stuff. I did find out that the plane costs itself about 200,000 euros, which sounds like a lot of money, but for planes that's not, okay, I guess it's not too out of the way. It could be something that I think will appeal, and I think as the battery technology gets better, then perhaps we could see more and more electric aircraft coming into the market. So I was really interested to see that. Had a good look around. It looked very nice. Lots of carbon fiber, lots of electronic gauges, and personally can't wait to go and have a look. So if you'd be interested in a video about that, I'll reach out to the company that was at the show. Let me know if you want to see, and I'll try and put something together so that we can go and see them, and perhaps we'll get a small flight, maybe a circuit round an airfield or something, just to see kind of how an electric aircraft differs from a kind of normal petrol powered or fossil fuel powered aircraft, and what all the differences are that you've got to look out for, maybe how private pilots licenses will change to accommodate that kind of technology as it comes in. So the third thing that took my interest at the show was the Mixergy stand. Mixergy has been featured on Fully Charged at least once. I don't know if it's more than that, but they've definitely been on there at least once. They make a hot water tank for the home, and their kind of unique selling point is that it heats from the top to the bottom, and that's counterintuitive because obviously everyone knows that heat rises. But what it means is that the heating process can control how much water is actually heated, and therefore, depending on your kind of usage, you can choose to heat more of the column of water inside that tank, rather than trying to heat the whole tank up to a particular temperature. So really, it's creating a benefit on the fact that the heat rises by heating from the top. You're actually sort of saying, I'm going to heat this up, but the heat has to push down uniformly into the tank. Now, the other thing that this does is it doesn't 100% rely on electric heating. So the immersion heater is at the top in order to heat down, so it can work in that mode, but it can also bring in hot water from an external heat source, whether that be a heat pump, a boiler, solar thermal panels. There's all sorts of different heat sources that it can use and be configured to use. I was really interested in this because in my home, my central heating system isn't new by any means. I'm sure that one day I'll wake up and it will need to be replaced at some point. So Mixergy is in my mind as to could it be the thing that is going to replace that in my home, and I think I'll do a separate video on that, exploring that fully. Obviously, when you're at these events, it's very hard to spend time talking the technical talk about whether it's suitable and what would need to be done and all of these kinds of things. But now that I've kind of met them and had a look at the unit, it looks like it could do the job in my situation here. But we'll have to see. We'll have to get into a little bit more detail on that system. So the fourth thing that really took my interest at the show was actually something I wasn't expecting to take my interest at all, but it was the e-scooters by ESKUTA. They were really well put together. I've seen a lot of e-scooters around and about. I know that they're actually currently illegal to use on the public roads at this point. I believe there are regulations changing. I have a normal manual scooter, a normal kick scooter, which is great for using with the kids and stuff. But I thought I just had to have a go on one of these electric scooters, and it was an absolute blast. It was really, really cool. It was also, the ESKUTA one specifically was also really well thought out. They had the batteries actually in the stem of the scooter rather than on the deck, which I think, you know, just seemed like a better idea. It had a nice disc brake plus the foot brake at the back. And it was pretty easy to use, and it was pretty quick as well. You had 3 settings on there that you could kind of step up the speed of the scooter. But yeah, really surprised by it. There was a good fun area where you could go and check out scooters and skateboards, and I can't do skateboards, but I can do scooters, and I had a great time on that. And actually, I think one of the things, if that had been, if scooters were legal right now to use on the roads, on the paths in the UK, then I probably would have walked away with one because it was so much fun. I'm not quite sure how I would have got it back to the car on the bus. Probably would have annoyed a load of people. So probably good that it wasn't there. It was on a deal at the show. I think they were around £400 at the show, and normally around £480 outside the show. But I don't need one, but it was just great fun. So next up was the Indra and WallBox stands. So I'm going to move these together because we did visit them at separate times, but they were about the same thing. They were about vehicle to grid, vehicle to home. So no surprises there that I'd be interested in vehicle to grid and vehicle to home. So WallBox make the Quasar. Indra have a unit. I can't remember what the name of that unit is. I just call it the Indra one. But the Indra unit is also being used in some trials around the UK. Some people have those units on their home. Again, it uses CHAdeMO, mostly Nissan Leaf owners using those Indra units to do either vehicle to grid or vehicle to home type trials, similar to what I've been doing with the Power Loop trial from Octopus. I was really interested. The first thing I was really interested in is kind of just how they differed physically. I've just had the review video post of kind of my whole vehicle to grid progress. I'll link that in this video here. You can see that. The Indra unit is physically much bigger, but it's passively cooled. There's no fans. It has a much thinner cable, which makes me kind of think that the WallBox unit is kind of they just took a off-the-shelf plug and lead from like a 40 kilowatt charger or something, because it looks like it might be over-spec'd for what can be delivered into into a car from a home sort of 7 kilowatt home supply. So that could be something that WallBox could quite easily change actually. But no, it was really good to speak to the Indra guys. They've got a vehicle to home trial kicking off. They had a link which you could sign up to there. I can't actually sign up for that right now because I don't have a Leaf anymore. But I think there is a still strong potential that in the future I might actually go and grab a second-hand Leaf, because essentially I'd be saving myself a load of money by doing that if I can use it as a Powerwall. If it can sit on my drive and be used as a Powerwall when it's parked there, then I don't have to go and buy a Powerwall as well. I can just buy a car, even if that's 15, 16, 17, 18 grand. I'm then not having to spend 5, 6, 7, 8, 10,000 pounds on a home battery as well. Or I might only have to buy a very small home battery just to keep kind of the base load of the house running when there's no one here and we're not here. So just something for the solar to kind of top up and keep standby items running, that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of considerations that I'm going in. But it was just really interesting to talk to the Indra folks and to see what their unit kind of looked like, and just to get a bit of an understanding of what was going on. And I didn't previously know about the trial that they were doing, but it seemed like something that would be worth considering. Next up was the WallBox stand. Went to those guys, had a chat with them. because I was really interested in, well, actually, can the WallBox unit do vehicle to home? Or, am I going to have to go for something like the Indra device? Now, they seem to indicate to me that the WallBox unit I have can't at the moment do vehicle to home, but it will be able to. And that's great. That means that if that's the case, if that comes off, and obviously you've got to take things you hear at shows with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because these folks, then I don't know who I spoke to. I may have just spoken to someone they grabbed off the street and told them to just say yes to everyone that came on the stand and asking them questions. But I've now kind of been back for a day or so and scanned some of the kind of the forums and asked some questions of other people with these boxes. And there seems to be yes, this is probably going to be possible. It will probably mean that I have to have another box in my house to actually monitor the amount of energy that's being imported or exported from the grid, a bit like a Harvey device, but dedicated to the WallBox charger. That makes total sense, of course. One of the other things they said was it might be able to change the unit to CCS, which would be very interesting, because if that does come off, then that means my options in terms of cars compatible with CCS vehicle to grid or vehicle to home technology then become open to me. And at the moment I have no idea what those vehicles would be, or whether, say for the example, the Zoe that I have, it has CCS. Would that be able to have a software update over the air and be able to then use the Quasar with the CCS connection? So really interesting. More questions coming out of that than I have answers at this stage, but it was really good to talk to them and make some of those connections. And so in the future we might actually be able to get something going there with those with the vehicle to home technology, but perhaps using the WallBox that we've already got, which would be great, because that would mean fewer holes being made on my wall on the side of my house if we don't have to swap out chargers. So number 5, I had to go and have a look at the ID Buzz. It does look quite good. They were unable to talk about pricing, which was a shame, because I think it's coming out this year. The guys said it looks like a really nice machine. I really like the look of this vehicle. I think it's probably just going to be way out of my price range, or it's at least way out of what I'm prepared to pay for a vehicle. But yeah, doesn't it look cool? And talking about things that look cool, we've got to look at these three-wheelers. These little three-wheeler cars were absolutely stunning. I think they were called Noble or Nobe. They couldn't be called Noble because that's a different manufacturer, but they were really wicked looking electric three-wheelers. £48,000 though. But yeah, achingly cool. Like really looked absolutely amazing. So then we took a trip outside. We had a look around. We didn't test drive any cars. We would have, I think, needed a whole day to just focus on test driving cars. We didn't do that. We did have a look around at some cars. MG for some reason didn't have an EV on their stand. They had, I think it was a hybrid or just a kind of normal petrol car. There was a lot of representation from the vehicle manufacturers, with one notable exception, because I probably would have gone over there and had words, and I'm sure a lot of other people would have gone over there and had words, so they weren't there. Well, not that I saw anyway. There's a lot of interest in the new Nissan Ariya. It was really interesting to see a new facelifted Nissan Leaf where they'd done nothing else to the technology under the car. So a massive missed opportunity for Nissan to uplift the Leaf with CCS and with perhaps a better battery unit. And it really shows how kind of they are the not Tesla in terms of being able to kind of agilely change things on the fly. They've got that production set up and they ain't changing it for anyone. That was a bit sad, because that car could be a great car, and I'm sure, like I've said before, the aftermarket will have to step in and change things. It also meant I had a really odd conversation with somebody standing right next to an Ariya with CCS. These were from Nissan, trying to convince me why the CHAdeMO standard was still really great, but also the fact that they were so great they hadn't actually put it on the Aria that we were standing next to. So weird conversation. The other thing in the outside area was there was a lot of space dedicated for testing of electric bikes or bikes with modifications, and there was a couple of cool companies that were making kind of bolt-on kits to upgrade your bike to an electric bike or an assisted electric bike, just to get you up those hills and things like that. So also in the outside area were a number of companies offering conversion systems for cars. There was Electric Classic Cars was there. There was the company, I don't remember who they were now, but they did the Bluebird, which was also featured on Fully Charged. And EW Services, I've not seen them before. They were based up in Yorkshire. They had a Mark II Golf on the stand, which I'm a bit of a Golf fan. I've had many VW Golfs in my past. I had a Mark II Golf, which I converted to a G60. Really nice car that was. I've got a Mark I Golf right now actually in the garage, which one day I thought maybe I would convert to electric. However, looking at the kind of costs involved with EW Services, I think the cost of the Mark II conversion was something like £68,000, which you've really got to want to convert a Mark II Golf to electric for £68,000. There's plenty things I would rather spend £68,000 on, thank you very much. But you know, these are the trailblazers, right? I'm sure that these costs will come down, the kits will be much cheaper in the future, and I'm sure that as second-hand EVs and written off EVs get out there, some of these parts will become more available. But it was just really interesting to have a talk to these guys and understand kind of some of the things that go into the kits. Also the placement of batteries, where the batteries were put in the vehicle, how much weight it added overall. You know, when you sort of took out the fact that you didn't have a big engine in the front, you had to put the batteries there, and also no fuel tank, but again you had to put batteries there as well. But you know, really nice to see, you know, conversions coming along. I think personally for me, I want to see the batteries, you know, the energy density in batteries a lot more. Although that Mark II did have a 50 kilowatt battery in it, so I'm thinking if I was to do a conversion, actually my Mark I could probably get away with, you know, 22 kilowatts or something like that. It wouldn't need a big range because it doesn't really go anywhere. It's just a nice car to run around in the summer. So that's all it gets used for. But I wouldn't want to compromise the structure of the vehicle too much, because I think that's kind of where the heavy work is. If I can put something that's over the electric motor in the engine bay, and put something where the fuel tank is, and not much more than that, maybe the spare wheel as well could be an area which we could use, then, you know, I'd be okay with that. But actually sort of chopping out the whole floor and kind of, you know, doing something like that, I think it's just kind of taking it a bit too far, and it's really taking away from, you know, the car that you're actually you're actually appreciating. But it was really good to see what it was they had going on there, and just kind of the effort that was going in. Lots and lots of bespoke work going into some of these cars, which was really nice to see. And the other thing I can't go without just giving a mention to is I bumped into Corey and the guys who do the videoing for the Artisan Electrics channel. I follow that channel. I've been following it for over a year because I'm a closet electrician at heart. But you know, those guys were absolutely great. Gave me an opportunity to plug the channel, although I completely messed it up, forgot to talk about anything that was even in any interest. So please guys, don't feel like you have to include that on anything. I will happily come back and redo that. Just leave it on the cutting room floor, please, for God's sake. But no, it was really interesting to meet them and just kind of shoot the breeze for them for a minute, talk about their channel and kind of you know, what I enjoyed about the stuff that they do. So, you know, really awesome stuff. there, and Corey apparently wants to do some flying as well. So we talked a little bit about private pilot's license and stuff like that. So really good to see them. So anyway, that was it. I had a great time at Fully Charged Live. I didn't have enough time there. Certainly, I think if I can get the chance, I'd love to spend a couple of days there next time. But that's it from this episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.